Well, President Obama completes his first 100 days in office on Wednesday. Former top Bush advisor and Fox News contributor Karl Rove joins us now with his report card. So let's break this down. On the domestic side, Barack Obama came into office facing questions about whether he is a big spending liberal. After these first 100 days, what's the answer?
The answer is yes. More importantly, he came in promising certain things with regard to the economy and his domestic agenda, which have not been borne out. He said he would carefully scrub the budget line by line and end government programs that would not work. He was critical of the previous administration for having added $2.9 trillion to the deficit over 8 years, critical of their spending, and has come in with a doubling the size of the federal deficit in the next 5 years and nearly tripling it in the next 10, and a very dramatic expansion of government's budget and its power.
On the national security side, I think the big question was, is Barack Obama up to being commander-in-chief? 100 days in, what's the answer to that?
Well, I think the answer is yes, but there are questions about the ability to change foreign policy that he laid out during the campaign. We've seen a lot more continuity, particularly in Iraq and Afghanistan. We're now repeating in Afghanistan the surge that was done in Iraq. And we've seen abroad his inability to push his agenda with our allies. He went to Europe, to the G20, saying my object is to get them to increase their spending like I'm increasing it back home. They said no thank you. He went to NATO with the object of getting them to increase their combat capability in Afghanistan. They said no thank you. It's not really clear what his goal was when he went to the Summit of the Americas and was greeted by Chavez. But again, let's step back for a minute. Whether it's domestic or international, this 100 days is an artificial deadline. It's a construct that the media has. The White House, every White House, prepares for it endlessly, develops storylines, prepares spinners, gets everybody out there working from top to bottom. But in reality, 100 days is not a lot of time for any administration to begin to set things in concrete. We saw this, for example, Bill Clinton, who started off with a very bad first 3 months and then recovered. And Jimmy Carter, who started off with a pretty good 100 at first days and then deteriorated after that.
You know, you talked about the trip to the Summit, excuse me, of the Americas in Trinidad. If you had been advising President Bush, and to be fair to Barack Obama, he was kind of cornered. Hugo Chavez gets up, cameras are rolling, walks down. It's not like he was Obama was looking for him, walks down, hands him a book, cameras are there. What would you have told President Bush today?
Well, first of all, you need to prepare for that moment, and it's amazing to me they didn't prepare for that moment. The first thing you do is you make certain that you are seen with your allies in a highly public and visible way. You're seen with Uribe, you're seen with our other allies throughout the region in a public fashion. And then if he comes your way, if Chavez comes your way and hands you the book, first of all, get rid of it quickly, and don't be sitting there smiling and backslapping. I mean, be polite but grim, if you will, because that photograph of the two of them laughing and smiling together and the two of them caressing the book has been seen, I suspect, throughout the hemisphere in many ways that are not helpful to America's interests.
Looking ahead to the next 100 days, and as you say, 100 days really isn't much more than an artificial construct of the media. Looking ahead to the next 100 days and to the first year, what are the big questions in your mind?
Well, first of all, the next 100 days really do get us to a reasonable deadline, which is when Congress goes out in August, what have they achieved? And here's the big thing, whether it's by August or by the end of the year, what's the economy doing? He came into office pledging action on the economy. We've passed a stimulus bill. He's passed a budget omnibus. He's working on passing a budget, which he's got the framework in place, dramatic expansion of spending. The question is, will it stimulate the economy, and will we see some improvement by the fall or the winter in the unemployment numbers? If we don't, then we're going to see a deterioration in his standing in the polls. He's actually in pretty good standing here in the polls. The best marker at this point was Ronald Reagan, who was at 67% job approval. Barack Obama, out of the last 6 presidents, is second with 65. But everybody's sort of bunched in there. I mean, there's the top 4 presidents out of the last 6, their approval ratings are between 62 and 67. So essentially they're grouped together in one place at this point because they all are having a honeymoon. But by the fall, how we're doing on jobs is going to have a big impact on what his numbers are.
You and I both know honeymoons end.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
Karl Rove, thank you.
Thank you.